Imagine driving from Lagos through Nigeria's coastal states all the way to Calabar, not through a collection of disconnected roads, congested urban routes, and difficult coastal terrains, but through one continuous modern highway. That is the ambition behind Nigeria's Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. And as we enter the second half of 2026, this project is no longer just a line on a government blueprint. Concrete is being poured, bridges are rising, embankments are stretching across previous difficult terrains. The bigger question is not simply when will this road be completed. The bigger question is, what happens to Nigeria's economy when Lagos is connected to Calabar by a modern coastal transport corridor? Today, we take you through the latest construction progress from Lagos to the Calabar end, the economic opportunities this highway could unlock, the challenges threatening its progress, and what Nigerians should expect next. Chapter 1: The scale of the project. The Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway is designed as one of Nigeria's most ambitious road infrastructure projects. The broader corridor is planned to stretch for roughly 700 kilometers along Nigeria's southern coastal line, connecting Lagos with Ogun, Ondo, and the south-south coastal states before reaching Calabar in Cross River State. But this is not simply about building another highway. It is about creating a transportation backbone connecting some of Nigeria's most commercial important regions. Think about what sits along this corridor: the Lekki Deep Sea Port, the Dangote Refinery, industrial and manufacturing zones, free trade areas, agricultural communities, tourist destinations, major cities, ports, and some of the country's most important coastal markets. When these places are connected by better infrastructure, transportation becomes cheaper and more predictable. And when transportation becomes cheaper, businesses can move more goods, factories can reach markets faster, farmers can reach consumers more efficiently, ports can connect more effectively with inland markets, and investors begin looking at places that were previously considered too difficult or expensive to access. This is the real economic story behind this highway. Chapter 2: Lagos, where the transformation is already visible. The Lagos section is currently the most advanced and visually impressive part of the project. The first major phase covers approximately 47.74 kilometers from the Victoria Island area towards Eleko. And this is where Nigerians can already see the highway taking physical shape. Long stretches of concrete pavement now dominated the landscape. Massive bridges and elevated structures are rising. Drainage systems are being installed. Embankments are being constructed, and sections of the road have already been opened temporarily to traffic. In December 2025, the federal government temporarily opened about 30 kilometers of the completed stretch to motorists, while the remaining portion of the 47.7 kilometers phase continues towards completion. But what makes this section particularly important is what surrounds it. This corridor sits inside one of the fastest growing economic zones in Nigeria. The Lekki Deep Sea Port is nearby. The Dangote Refinery is nearby. The Lekki Free Zone is expanding. Industrial and residence development continue to spread across the area. So the highway is not being built in isolation. It is being built along an emerging economic cluster. And that could be one of the biggest advantages. Because when roads, ports, industries, and logistics infrastructure develop together, they can reinforce one another. A better road can bring more trucks to a port. A more efficient port can reduce logistics costs. Lower logistic costs can make industries more competitive, and more industries can create more demand for transportation, housing, services, and jobs. That is how infrastructure begins turning into economic growth. Chapter 3: Section 2 is moving eastward. Beyond the first 47 kilometers, construction continues into two sections. This section stretches approximately 55.6 kilometers from the Elekon area towards the Lagos-Ogun boundary. And this is where the scale of the project becomes even more interesting. The government has been pushing construction aggressively along the corridor, with major earthworks, embankment constructions, drainage works, and bridge constructions taking place. Recent updates indicate that Section 2 is being targeted for substantial completion around November 2026. And there is another important feature here: the bridges. Several major bridges and flyover structures are being constructed along the route. These are not simply decorative structures. They are necessary because the highway has to cross waterways, existing roads, and difficult terrains while maintaining uninterrupted traffic movement. The result will be a road designed not merely to carry cars, but to support heavy commercial traffic. That matters because this corridor is increasingly becoming a major logistic route, a highway capable of moving trucks effectively between industrial areas, ports, and markets can have a direct impact on cost of doing businesses. And in Nigeria, where transportation costs can significantly influence the final price of goods, that matters enormously. Chapter 4: The highway reaches the east. While Lagos receives most of the attention, something equally important is happening at the opposite end. Construction has been progressing around the Calabar and Akwa Ibom corridor. Recent project updates put the Calabar end section 3 at approximately 75 kilometers, with construction progressing across Cross River and Akwa Ibom. This is significant because Calabar is not simply the end of the road. It could become another gateway. A modern connection between Calabar and the wider coastal corridor could improve the movement of agricultural products, manufactured goods, and people across southeastern and coastal Nigeria. And then there is tourism. Cross River State already possesses some of the Nigeria's most important tourism assets, but tourism depends heavily on accessibility. A beautiful destination can take too long or cost too much to reach while struggle to attract large number of visitors. Better roads changes that equation. Hotels can receive more visitors, tour operators can expand, local businesses can serve a large market, farmers can transport products more effectively, and communities along the corridor can become economically connected to cities that previously felt far away. So when we talk about the Calabar section, we could not only look at the concrete and construction equipment, we should look at the economic activities that could follow behind them. Chapter 5: Section 4 and the difficult terrain. Then there is the Section 4. Recent updates describe that this is an approximately 82 kilometers dual carriageway section covering the Ogun-Ondo axis. With construction already underway, this part of the project demonstrates something important about building a coastal highway in Nigeria. Not every kilometer is equally easy to construct. Engineers have to deal with wetland, soft grounds, waterways, heavy rainfall, and areas vulnerable to flooding. In some locations, the challenges is not simply putting concrete on the ground. The ground itself has to be engineered before the road can safely sit on it. That means filling, compaction, drainage, embankment, culverts, bridges, and this difficult terrain, extensive reclamation, and other specialized construction methods. This is one reason why Lagos-Calabar project should not be judged simply by how many kilometers of asphalt or concrete are visible. Some of the most important work is being happening underneath the road. Now, the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway is still a work in progress. Some sections are far ahead, others are only beginning to take shape, and numerous engineering challenges remain. But something important has happened already. The projects have moved from an idea on paper to physical infrastructure stretching across Nigeria's southern landscape. And that matters because Nigeria does not simply need more roads. Nigeria needs roads that connect economic opportunities, a highway linking ports to industries, industries to market, markets to communities, and communities to one another. That is when infrastructure becomes more than concrete. It becomes an economic engine. The Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway could eventually become one of the most important transportation corridors in Nigeria. But its ultimate success will depend on more how quickly construction is completed. It will depend on engineering equality, maintenance, security, environmental management, and most importantly, whether Nigerians are able to turn this new connectivity into businesses, industries, jobs, and trade. But this is only the beginning. What we have explored today is just one of our Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway documentary. There is still much more to uncover, from the next stages of construction and the sections stretching deeper into the southern Nigeria, to the bridges, major engineering works, economic opportunities, challenges, and what its massive corridors could ultimately mean for Nigeria's future. So phase 2 is coming, and trust me, you don't want to miss it. Subscribe to the channel and turn on to the notification bell because in the next episode, we will continue to follow the transformation of the Lagos Coastal Highway and take a closer look at what is coming across the remaining section of this ambitious project. This is only phase 1. The road is still being built and our story still continues. Thank you for staying in.